Guess what? Nintendo is doomed is back on the menu. At least it will be for some people, though that's reading a bit too much into this. In any case, this news isn't great if you're either a Nintendo shareholder or someone important at Nintendo, because Nintendo is apparently lowering production of the Switch 2, specifically based on softer US demand. This comes to us by way of Bloomberg, though I'm looking at specifically the Video Games Chronicle report, as Bloomberg is behind a paywall. So what is being reported here is that Nintendo has reduced production from 6 million down to 4 million for the current quarter we're in, and continuing through at least April, which is a reduction by over 30%. The Video Games Chronicle says something else that lines up with that number, being that although Switch 2 sales have remained strong in Japan and have had, multiple stock shortages, in the US, sales of the system, as we reported ourselves, softened over the holiday season by 35% compared to the Switch 1 in its first holiday season, which is, not great news. So it kind of makes sense that they lowered production by a, seemingly similar percentage. And even with the recent Pokemon success on the Switch 2, it apparently hasn't been enough to convince Nintendo to increase output quite yet. And speaking of software, a strategist in Japan specifically said this hardware shortfall in its first year during its big holiday season is awful news. Clearly the software lineup has been poor, at least until most recently, with Pokemon showing some hope. And we saw, a unattributed Nintendo employee say something similar, not that harshly, a few months ago, who had said something like they didn't have the software that lined up well with Western taste, or something to that effect, which seems to have been the case. And according to Bloomberg's source, this reduction has nothing to do with RAM prices or anything. It purely has to do with the sales of the Switch 2. Though Video Games Chronicle points out that the Switch 2 has still been a massive success, still the fastest selling console of all time, and that's exactly why this shouldn't be doom and gloom news yet. It's just that the Switch 2 had an unusual launch, with Nintendo being able to meet demand in most regions and selling an absurd amount in that time, seemingly having an impact, on the rest of the year. So we're going to have to see how things play out from here, because, maybe it is a sign of things to come. Maybe Switch 2 sales will drop until we start getting a steady stream of, big heavy hitters, if they're coming. But yeah, that's all I got for you, everyone. So what do you make of this news? Do you think it's concerning? Do you think you should be worried? I don't think you should be worried. I don't think any of us should be worried, but if you're a Nintendo stockholder, maybe just a little bit. But again, with the absurd success of the Switch 2, I don't think Nintendo lowering production by a bit is a big reason to be concerned yet. But, it could be in the future when we look back and oh, maybe that was the first warning sign. So we're going to have to wait and see at this point. But again, at this point, I don't think it matters too much. And I'm going to keep saying point because I like that word. All right, everyone, thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. Bye.